Lots of Gen Z thinks that college is a waste of time, a waste of money, and kind of stupid. So my wonderful editor Beth foraged around the internet for some of the best anti-college rants, and we're going to take a look at them today and see whether Gen Z is right. First off, we've got Big Tug. Big Tugger the Third. A TikToker and YouTuber who graduated with a communications degree, and he spends most of his video complaining about dorms sucking and about the kinds of people who go to college.
Next part of the dorm experience that will mentally break you is the RAs. The majority of college is hanging out and meeting people that you absolutely hate.
And yes, dorms can suck, but finding good people at college to hang out with and make friends with takes a little bit of effort, and you have to do a lot of work to put yourself out there and go do activities where people who are like you hang out. But things get a little bit juicier when Big Tug, that's his name, right? Okay, that's a weird name. When he starts complaining about return on investment. He claims that the average college experience costs about $80,000, and then he gives a bunch of jokes about other things you could have spent that money on, like buying an elephant.
You could have bought a couple monkeys, then you can build a zoo, and then your life's the movie We Bought a Zoo.
And it becomes quickly pretty clear that he doesn't really have the stats to back up what he's saying, because he has a lot of these stereotypes like, STEM majors are going to make tons of money, but I got a communications major and I'm an idiot and I'm not going to make any money, and most degrees are useless, but STEM majors, they make a bunch of money. He drops some actual wisdom when he says that when his kids are ready to go to college, he's going to tell them to go to community college first for 2 years.
Figure out what the hell you're doing, then go to a real college.
And that is actually really smart, because if there's something that I think we all know, it's that most 18-year-olds don't really have a clue what they want to do. And for anybody who has dropped out of college, you know that the reason you dropped out is because the juice was no longer worth the squeeze. The things you would have to do to stay in were not worth the things that you wanted to be able to get out of it. And so community college is a way cheaper, sometimes free, less intense way of determining whether that's a good path for you, but also to get exposure to different things and different people and different careers while you decide whether you actually need a degree to do the things that you need to do. Big Tug's chief complaint throughout is that college costs too much. And I think he's actually estimating a little bit low with $80,000. It depends. If you're going to an in-state state school, that's probably more realistic. If you're going to a private school or an out-of-state school, I'm guessing that you're going to be looking at more like $120,000. Oh, and that's just as an average, because there are plenty of schools that cost way more. But at the end of the day, you're spending that level of money to get a degree that a third of the workforce already has. There's never guaranteed income with any degree that you ever get. It's really more about who you are, your networking skills, the actual skills that you have, and less about, I have a degree, I automatically get a job. But even then, having that degree is just not that competitive. And a lot of people find themselves at the end of that college degree not getting a job and saying, well, screw it, I'll just go back and get a master's degree and try again later. And part of the reason college costs so much is that colleges aren't anymore just about educating or about research. They're also about babysitting and entertaining. And I don't mean that insultingly to students who go, but there have been so many articles about colleges, having a lazy river or a rock climbing wall, lots of crazy amenities that are meant to make the college experience more fun so that they can attract students to their school. But then all colleges start doing more of these things to make college a fun place to be, that it just kind of raises the tuition costs all around. You're not just paying for education and a degree, you're paying for the student union center, you're paying for activities and all sorts of stuff that has nothing to do with the actual learning you're going there for. And then there's also the well-documented rise of the administrative population at colleges. We have 15 different VPs of whatever. We've got, a bunch of advisors. We have extra departments like career centers and writing centers where we're trying to provide extra services that we're then also having to charge for. And so college just keeps getting more and more expensive. This video by Nicole Raffi is really interesting. She makes a couple of really good points. Number one, she says college is a business.
Before they even email you your diploma, they're already asking for donations from you as an alumni.
Which I can speak to because of the two schools I've graduated from. I get requests for donations all the time. Wasn't tuition expensive enough? You want me to just give you money? Imagine going to Walmart and as you were leaving, Sam Walton came up to you, the ghost of Sam Walton, and was like, hey, can I have just a little bit more money here, please? I thought I was paying for groceries here. The other really interesting point she makes is that the reason a lot of people romanticize college is not because of the learning necessarily. The thing that people really like about college is being so closely connected to their entire community.
I loved being able to walk down 2 flights of steps and being at my bestie's house. I loved that I was able to walk right across the street and I was able to get dinner. And having access to all these things makes life so much more enjoyable.
So if you feel left out by having missed out on the college experience, a really great way to, rectify that is not to try to go back and get a college degree or go back to college and relive the glory days or whatever. It's to go and find a neighborhood or a community where you can walk to the grocery store and there are community activities and events where you can make friends. My favorite video out of all of these is Alice Capel's description and sort of takedown of college as having become a business.
The ideal is to bring as much money into the university as possible. And that means taking a lot of money from students, and it also means paying researchers as little as possible.
And then when you look at it from the student perspective, she says that basically with all of this huge expense and all this debt, we've set up barriers to students being able to get the specialized knowledge and skills they need to be able to impact society and innovate and find ways to make our world better. I think her solution is that college should be free. She doesn't have any ideas that she describes for how to pay for that, but I do agree with her that higher education has become too business focused. Out of all the things in our society that should try to stay away from becoming so profit focused, I think one of the most important ones is education, because at its heart, education is very much a self-sacrificing humanistic endeavor. And especially when you start making money the priority, you start bringing in all sorts of biases and you compromise your neutrality when it comes to doing research, which is really important. This description of college as this like capitalist monster is a little bit funny though, because like I said, there's a ton of administrative bloat. Colleges are good at raising prices, but they're really bad at cutting expenses. They're like afraid that if I don't have 15 zillion different advisors and all of these amenities and all this other stuff, I won't be able to compete in the market. And to an extent, that's true, but there's a lot of fat that can be cut, and a lot of it's up at the top with the decision makers. You do not need 15 vice presidents to make this college run. I think Alice is maybe also a little optimistic, a little naive about the benefits that come from college to a nation. As we know from The Case Against Education, written by an economist at George Mason University, there is actually not a huge benefit to society when somebody gets educated. That person gets a ton of benefit because now they can go get better jobs and they can get more money, but society as a whole doesn't necessarily see that come back around to the same amount that they invested in that person's education. So if somebody's going to get a bachelor's, master's, and a doctorate, and it was going to cost $200,000 over the course of these degrees, society isn't necessarily going to see $200,000 worth of value come from that on the average. And part of the reason for that is that so many people go get bachelor's degrees now, and so many people go get master's degrees and even PhDs and other doctoral degrees, that we have this oversaturation for the market. So we're, like if we only need one PhD to go and make widgets for the laser rockets, we have maybe like 3. So if society's paying 3 times 200,000, 600,000, when we only really needed $300,000 worth of benefit out of it, we are definitely overpaying. What we need to do to solve this is not to try to push more people, go get a bachelor's degree, because a lot of high school guidance counselors, that's the only advice they give people. Oh, you don't know what to do with your life? Go get a college degree, you'll figure it out after you go like $80,000 into debt. Instead, no, we need to be making it easier to off-ramp onto other lucrative careers, especially in the trades. And we need businesses to get real about what kind of jobs actually need a college degree to be able to do them, and what kind of jobs would take 3 weeks of on-the-job training to be able to figure out. It makes no sense for society as a whole to pay for a third of us to all go get bachelor's degrees just to get jobs that don't actually require bachelor's degrees. So to bring this back around to what Alice was saying, yeah, capitalism provides some problems for education, for higher education, for society as a whole when it comes to the education of the workforce. But if you wanted to make college free for people, you would have to be super heartless and basically tell people, unless you're X smart, we're definitely not paying for your degree. And unless you promise to go into this field that provides this value to society, then it's just not a smart investment for society to make into that person. This is a really short TikTok from Haley Timberlake, who I think is like an entrepreneur business type person.
Honestly, I think that college is useless for anything business. Why would you go invest like $70,000 into something whenever you could genuinely go and invest that money? But it's because when people are so young, you don't know what you don't know.
She's kind of making fun of people who go get business degrees. And I think that's kind of a funny point, but she does make a really good one, and it's that she kind of guesses that the reason most people do that is because they're young. And I think that comes down to 2 different things. One, you don't have that long-term perspective on, what do I want my life to look like in 10 years, because you just haven't experienced enough of the world. But also you're young and people are telling you what to do and what the most safe plan and what the regular track is. And so a lot of people just get funneled off into the higher education system. And finally, we have Charlie Kirk and a couple of videos from him from his TikTok.
Half of this audience, if you get a job, will get a job that doesn't require a college degree. 41% of kids that enter college will not graduate. Every other part of life is all about your own customization, your Netflix account, how you get your burrito bowl. But you come to college and they say you must go take these 3, 4, 5 classes to go further into debt, study things that don't matter, to find jobs that don't exist. That sounds like a scam.
We'll give the caveat that I really don't like Charlie Kirk and most of the things that he does. I think there's a lot better ways to convince people and to try to make the world a better place. Oh, and he's not technically Gen Z, but he's making videos for Gen Z. So I think a lot of his audience resonates with what he's saying. And I think he sums up kind of some of the inherent problems with college really well. Half of the people who graduate are going to get a job that didn't even require a degree in the first place, and that the jobs that these college students want sometimes don't even exist because there's just too many people who want those jobs. Which brings us back to like the ultimate question here. Like, for a student who's looking at college, is the investment worth it? Let's say that the average cost is $80,000. Is the investment worth it? According to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, a college graduate is likely to make about $3.2 million over the course of their lifetime, while somebody who only has a high school degree is likely to only make $2.1 million. So that is a $1.1 million return on investment. You spend $80,000, which is about $0.1 million, then you have basically, given yourself the opportunity statistically and on average to earn about $1 million more over the course of your life. So yes, college is worth it as a financial investment into your future, but is it still a scam? Kind of, because it could be way cheaper and way more streamlined, and just so many things could be better. How did public high school get so bad that we have to go and retake classes for general education in college that we basically already took in high school? Like, shouldn't those be good enough that they're worth it? With less classes and lower tuition, that would mean we were spending less on college. And if fewer businesses required bachelor's degrees when they shouldn't, then that would be less demand for college, aka more supply, aka continued lower prices. Which would also make it a lot easier to give free college to people who maybe really can't afford it, or who really have something special to offer that we as a society want to capitalize on by giving them that education and empowering them to go solve some of our problems. So in sum, Gen Z, I wouldn't give up on college yet, but I would sure as heck be looking for different ways to try to get that degree. If you're open to hearing about some of those ways, feel free to check them out right here. Thanks for watching, and guys, I would love to know your thoughts on this, especially if you're Gen Z, but even if you're not, like, from your perspective, am I missing something? Do you think college is still worth it? What are some other ways that we need to ask ourselves, is college a good idea still? Thanks for watching. Happy hacking.